Let's take a look at our next strategy for comparing decimals. So our next strategy that we're going to talk about is called using a number line. Okay, so we already drew a model in our last lesson, so now we're going to be looking at using a number line to compare decimals. So we're going to use that same problem that we were looking at earlier. Okay, the city park covers 6,400 square miles. About 1,800 of the park is covered by water. About 2/10 of the park is covered by paved walkways. Is more of the park covered by water or paved walkways? So the first strategy that we did, we made a model and we colored in 1,800s and 2/10 and we compared them visually. So let's look at our next strategy. We're going to use a number line. So our number line starts at 0 and they put 0 and 0/10. And it goes, this one only goes to 50 hundredths. Okay, as you see 50 hundredths. So we went from 0 to 50 hundredths. And it's going up in increments labeled of 10 hundredths, 20 hundredths, 30 hundredths, 40 hundredths, and 50 hundredths. And it could keep going on and on forever. Okay, remember that 0 decimal point 10 or 10 hundredths is the same as 1/10. This is the same as 2/10. All right, so keep that in mind as we go to plot our decimals. Okay, so our first decimal is we're going to find 18 hundredths. So this is 10 hundredths and this is 20. 2 less than 20 would be 18 hundredths. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or I can do 20, 2 back, 19, 18. Our next one is 2/10. We're going to put 2/10. Remember, 20 hundredths and 2/10 are equivalent. They name the same amount. So 2/10 would go right here. So looking at that, as we know that numbers grow and get larger as they move away from 0. Here we have 2/10 is greater than 18 hundredths. So I can say blank is closer to 0. 18 hundredths is closer to 0. So 18 hundredths is less than 2/10. 18 hundredths is less than 2/10. Okay, we can compare equal size parts. 18 hundredths is 18 hundredths. 2/10 is equal to 20 hundredths. And I know that 18 hundredths is less than 20 hundredths. So 18 hundredths is less than 2/10. So more of the park is covered by 2/10 talked about, covered by paved walkways. So more of the park is covered by paved walkways. Let's do another example comparing with a number line. So let's compare 4/10 and 48 hundredths. 4/10 and 48 hundredths. So here I have my number line. Okay, and this number line starts at 0 and it goes to 1 whole. And this number line is counting by tenths. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. Each of these hash marks is a tenth. But in between these hash marks, I have 10 more. So each of these lines is a hundredth. 100th, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, etc. So we would have 100 hundredths to get us to 1. We would have 10 tenths by the time we get to 1. So here are our numbers that we're comparing. 4/10 and 48 hundredths. So let's go ahead and plot 4/10 on our number line. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. Now let's do 48 hundredths. Remember, 4/10 is the same. 4/10 is the same as 40 hundredths. Right? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 hundredths. That's too many. So 41 hundredths, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. So right here would be 48 hundredths. So 48 hundredths. So if I was going to compare the two of these, 4 tenths and 48 hundredths, I could say, use that again, 48 hundredths is less than 48. Sorry, 48 tenths is less than 48 hundredths. 48 tenths is less than 48 hundredths. Even though this looks like, oh, 4 is less than 48. This is 4 tenths. Over here I have 4 tenths and 8 hundredths more. We can rewrite this guy, right, as 40 hundredths. It's definitely less than 48 hundredths. All right, so that is how we're going to plot and compare decimals on a number line, plotting them out and seeing which one is greater on the number line.